Hello, students. We are here to discuss the uh, PT365, especially for the environment purpose. We had already discussed the earlier parts, that is 1.1 points, which has been covered in various points earlier. So we are going to cover the other points. The other points cover the areas of forest. The recent one is 1. Sanrakshan एवं संवर्धन Amendment Rules 2025. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change notified One Sanrakshan एवं संवर्धन Amendment Rules, marking significant changes in One Sanrakshan एवं संवर्धन. Sanrakshan means here protection, and संवर्धन means conservation. It has been notified by the central government under the Van Sanrakshan Evam Samvardhan Adhiniyam 1980, that is Forest Conservation Act 1980, amendment by Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023. The compensatory afforestation land allowed to be either transferred to the forest department or notified as a protected area under the Indian Forest Act 1927 or other laws. The compensatory afforestation, that is, afforestation activities compensated for causing the environmental damage at some part of the area, and compensatory afforestations in order to compensate the environmental degradation of that area, which is the land that allowed to either it was transferred to forest department or either it can be notified as a protected area. It means afforestation done in lieu of diversion of forest land for non-forestry use under the Forest Conservation Act 1980. Means afforestation on the lands which it, it is compensatory afforestation, which afforestation is done in order to compensate for the land which has been diversified of forest land for non-forest reuse. Non-forestry use can be of mostly industries or commercial use of it. Like mining also can also be included. Like mining of critical strategic minerals under the Mining and Mineral uh, Development Resource 1957 Act undertake compensatory reforestations on degraded forest land minimum double the extent. The state government allowed to grant initial working permission for linear projects, activities such as road work, railway track, and transmission line. Previously, state government could mobilize resource only after receiving in principle or stage 1 approval for a project. But now the state government has been allowed to grant the initial working permission for linear projects. The now we need to understand the stage 1, because there it is a mention of stage 1. So these forest clearance, as per the Forest Conservation Act 1980, it talks about stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is a in principle approval. Approval is granted if certain conditions are met, like allocating funds, or compensatory afforestation. If these conditions are met, then we get the stage 1 or in principle approval. Stage 2 is like financial clearance given after state confirms compliance with all stage 1 conditions. When the state government comply with stage 1, then stage 2, that is financial clearance. The final, sorry, it is not financially, it is final clearance given after the stage 1 approval. Who is approval authority? For projects up to 5 hectares, except mining, Clearance is given by Chief Conservation of Forest, but projects above 5 hectares or any mining proposals, clearance is granted by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. About Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023. There is a definition of forest, that is land declared or notified as a forest under any law. Indian Forest Act 1927. Land, these are the definitions of the forest. Like land recorded as a forest in government records on or after 25 October 1980. That is Forest Conservation Act. This does not include land which has been officially changed from forest use to use for non-forest purpose on or before 1996. In 2024, the Supreme Court directed states UTs to follow 1996 TN Goda Varman case definition of forest until the identification of forest land under 2023 Forest Conservation Act is completed. Thus now it has came under the uh, Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023, which defines forest as a notified land declared or notified as a forest under any law is called forest. There were activities excluded from definition of non-forest purpose like establishment of zoos, safari under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 in forest areas other than protected areas, ecotourism facilities. These are the activities which has been excluded from the definition of non-forest purpose. Now this will be included as a forest purpose. This will be included into the forest area. So if now we are establishing zoos and safaris, they will be mm, included. They are excluded from the non-forest use. So this can be use of forest use. So if we are establishing this, we do not have to imply with the stage one criteria where we have to provide a compensatory forestations or so forth. So these things has been excluded. Zoo safaris under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 in forest areas other than protected areas. If we are doing in protected areas, they has not been excluded. They are in the non-forest purposes. Ecotourism facilities, that is ecological tourism facilities included in plans of the area. Silviculture operation including regeneration operations and any other purpose specified by the central government has been excluded from definition of non-forest purposes. Criteria of land exempted from provisions of Act. The land exempted from provisions of Act. The exempted project, the extent of exemption. This is the criteria which talks about land exempted. If there is a connectivity to habitation or to rail or a road amenity, these are the exempted products under the Forest Conservation Management Act 2023. If there is of national importance or national security, if it is a construction of social security related infrastructure, if it is defense project, if it is paramilitary camps or public utility projects. These are the exemptions. The projects like connectivity where it connect through rail or a road or habitation like corridors. This has been exempted. The infrastructure related to national security and national importance has been exempted. The defense project, paramilitary camps, and public utility projects has also been exempted. There is a related judgment, Tamil Nadu Go TN, sorry, it's not Tamil Nadu, it's TN Goda Varman Thirumalpad Thirumalpad versus Union of India case 1996, where Supreme Court gave that definition of forest. It is a landmark Supreme Court decision that established the broad and comprehensive definition of forest, which includes all area recorded as forest in any government, that is union and state record, irrespective of ownership, recognition and classification. All areas that conform to dictionary meaning of forest, that is whatever the literal meaning of the forest is. Then area identified as forest by expert committee set up by states following the 1996 order. Thus, it all overall include the forest as a recorded forest by any government, that is union and states, and the confirmed dictionary meaning of the forest, and also include those areas which is identified as forest by expert committees of various state governments. So this is all about this article. One Sanrakshan Evam Samvardhan Amendment Rules 2025. There were the highlights like this was notified by central government under the Van Sanrakshan Evam Samvardhan Adhiniyam 1980, Forest Conservation Act 1980, of course, and amended by Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023. There was a provision of compensatory forestations, which land will be allowed either transfer to forest department or notified protected area. There was a mining of critical and strategic minerals on degraded must undertake. Thus, it has been mandated that mining of critical and strategic minerals must undertake compensatory forestation on degraded forest land, minimum double the extent. Double the extent means the in land which has been degraded, the afforestation in which it has to be done as a compensation should be double of that exploited area. State governments were allowed to grant initial working permission. Earlier they were not, because they need the government approvals for in principle or stage one approval for projects. Now they can initially they can give a working permission for the linear projects. There was a amendments in Forest Act also, which has defined the forest, because earlier we had to follow the Supreme Court's definitions in T.N. Godavarman case, where the forest land has been designated as a these criteria based on three criteria. There were the provisions of exemptions like connectivity, security, national infrastructure, paramilitary camps, defense projects, and public utility projects have been exempted from this um, category of forest. Next is National Mission for Green India. This has been an important mission of India, which promotes afforestation, sustainable productions, and more economic balance. That is, balance between economy and ecology. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, it has recently unveiled the revised mission document of National Mission for Green India or Green India Mission. About Green India Mission, launched in 2014, among the 8 missions under the National Action Plan on Climate Change. It is among the 8 missions which has been launched under the National Action Plan on Climate Change. Objective was to increase the forest cover, tree cover on forest or non-forest land. That is, afforestations we have to do. We have to do the afforestations and increase the forest and tree covers either in forest or non-forest land. Other objectives like improved ecosystem, including carbon sequestration, creating an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent by 2030. There were three submissions also, like improve forest quality and ecosystem, increase forest and tree cover and restore ecosystem, enhance and diversify income of forest dependent communities, especially tribals, minimum forest produce. Funding, the funding part was coming from missions allocation and rest from national campa mission fund, sorry. It is a compensatory afforestation fund and fund management and planning authority, campa. The timeline of this mission was 10 years, that is decadal. Implementation was bottom up model, that is, it will be implemented from bottom to top with Joint Forest Management Committee JFMC as a key implementation. Joint Forest Management Committee. Key strategies which is linked to India's national determined plans, or we can say national determines contribution, which we every country has to make it in order to uh, support the fight against climate change. The key missions is like micro ecosystem approach. It will focus on vulnerable zones like Aravalli, Western Ghats, Northwestern arid regions, mangroves, etc. Then private sector will be also included. It will leverage corporate social responsibility for restoration and village support. Carbon market, which recently has been implemented, Article 6 of Paris Agreement. Sell carbon credits from forest agroforestry via voluntary markets. Green India Force, that is, youth cadre should be trained for implementation and maintenance of the green cover. So these are the key strategies. One is finding the vulnerable areas and tackling the problem of those, including private sectors, introduction of carbon markets, and training or encouraging the youth to participate in maintaining and implementation of the mission. The next one is environmental accounting on forest 2025. The news is about environmental accounting in forest 2025 report was released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementations. So we might get confused because the environmental accounting on forest has been conducted by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementations, not by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. It is it's eighth consecutive issue related to environment accounts. First dedicated publication on forest accounting based upon the UN system of environmental and economic accounts framework. CEA, though called the System of Environmental and Economic Accounts, is an international statistical standard that integrate economies and environmental data to access the environment's contribution to economy. That is how the environment is contributing to economy of a country and their economic value out of it. And there is like a circular effect, like environment contributing to economy and how the economy is contributing to economy environment. Vice versa effect, we can say so. It is developed by United Nations, European Commission, and FAO, that is Food and Agricultural Organization, in 2012. First adopted by Ministry of Strategy and Program Implementation in 2018. So it is a eighth consecutive issue related to environment accounts. According to status of Indian forest, as per the Indian Forest Report 2023, which is biennial publications by Forest Survey of India, India State Forest Report is an important report regarding the India's forest condition. It not only covers the data of states and the forest covers in India, their increase, increment, their decrement, but also it covers the other aspects also, like the forest, how we are doing with our nationally determined contributions, how much we are succeeding in our adapting to sustainable approach for safety of the environment, more environmental conservation projects, how they are working. So we get like a reality check of our initiatives, like we are taking the initiatives to protect the and conserve the environment, increasing the forest cover. And so because of this data, Indian State of Forest Report, which is conducted biennially, that is two times in 1 year, that is sorry one time in 2 years, and it is publication by Forest Survey India. This is a body which conduct the survey overall. The Indian forest, according to that Indian State of Forest Report, status of Indian forest, we got some data like total forest and tree cover. We got increased to 25.17% of geographical area, which is compared to 24.62% which was in 2021. The 2023 report, and now will be this we got in 2025. So next will be published 1 year after. So we can go for this data for our prelims 2026. There is the increase of forest cover and forest and tree cover, and now combiningly forest cover and tree cover combiningly consist of 25.17% of geographical area, and 33% is considered ideal for any country or any region, that 33% area should be under the forest and tree covers, which includes the forest cover, which is 21.76%, and 3.14% of tree cover. Maximum increase was seen in Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, and Rajasthan. Forest cover, that is 19 states and UTs have forest cover above 33%. That is a significant achievement for India, because this is what has been considered as ideal situation, not as an ideal situation, but this is a target which most of the international bodies aims for, and this is considered as decent number for promoting and sustainable growth. And so in 19 states and UTs in India have more than 33% of area covered under the forest and tree cover. 8 states and UTs with forest covers above 75%, mostly belonging to northeast region. Area wise, like the area through which state contains the most forest reserves, Madhya Pradesh tops the list, followed by Arunachal Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Top three states in percentage wise, that how much percentage of their area is under the forest. Lakshadweep topping it, with Mizoram and Andaman following it. Lakshadweep at the top, we got the Mizoram and Andaman and Nicobar. These are the percentage of area in the forest. If we talks about total area, we got the Madhya Pradesh, then Arunachal Pradesh, and then Chhattisgarh. Thing can be asked that maximum increase was seen in Chhattisgarh, then followed by UP, Bihar, Odisha, and Rajasthan. There was an increase in total tree and forest covers. Forest covers include 21.76% and tree cover includes 3.41%. This increasing it by 25.17%. Total mangrove cover, that is 4992 kilometers square. Like there was a seen decrement of 7.43 kilometers square compared to 2021, despite of programs like Mishti, which was made to promote the mangroves conservation. Gujarat saw decrease, whereas Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra saw an increase. There was target under the NDC, that is nationally determined contribution. Carbon stock reached 30.43 billion ton of CO2 equivalent, indicating India has reached 2.29 billion ton of additional carbon sink compared to 2005 as against target of 2.5 to 3.5 billion ton by 2030. Key terms is like there are the key terms which we need the definition of which we need to know. Forest area. Forest area is recorded as forest in government records, also called recorded forest area. We got forest covers where all land more than or equal to, that is more than or equal to 1 hectare in area with a tree canopy of more than 10%. Irrespective of ownership and legal status, it includes the orchards, bamboo, and palm. The forest cover. Tree cover comprises all tree patches outside forest area which has less than 1 hectare, including all scattered trees found in rural and urban setting and not captured under the forest cover assessment. This is a tree cover. Carbon stock. Carbon stock is defined as the carbon in all living and non-living biomass, including above ground biomass, below ground biomass, deadwood, litter, soil carbon. This is what carbon stocks define it. That is carbon in all living and non-living biomass. Below or above the ground mass, deadwood, litter and soil carbon. Protected forest. These are the notified under the provision of Indian Forest Act or other state forest acts with limited degree of protection, permits all activities unless prohibited. These are the protected forest. Like the all activities are being permitted unless they are prohibited through explicit provisions. And these are the notified and the provisions like Forest Act and other state forest acts, which has a limited degree of protection. So this is all about today. The rest we'll be discussing in the next video. Thank you for watching.